About 400 of China's most powerful officials are meeting this week in Beijing. The secretive gathering, known as the plenum, is the most important in the country's political calendar and lays the groundwork for the coming year. But this week's event is especially significant. A historical resolution is due to be unveiled. This will determine the direction of Chinese politics, both philosophical and practical, for years to come. Only 3 official historical resolutions have been announced since the Chinese Communist Party was founded. In 1945, party founder Mao Zedong used the first to claim his position as China's absolute leader, as well as point out the missteps of early communist revolutionaries. In 1981, a resolution announced under Deng Xiaoping criticized the problems of the Cultural Revolution and justified economic and industrial reforms. This year, the party will mark the achievements of the past 100 years. It will focus on strengthening the Communist Party as the only political force in China and consolidating Xi's position as the ultimate people's leader.
Danke, Lisha, dass die Bücke Sommer
Well, it's saved countless lives here in Israel over the last decade, and now reports are coming in that Morocco is keen on bringing the Iron Dome missile defence system into play there to defend its interests against aerial threats. Now, the Iron Dome, produced and developed by Rafael, would ensure the better defence of the sand wall of the Sahara, but also of civil and military zones of a sensitive nature. Morocco's become involved in a dispute with its neighbour Algeria, with diplomatic ties cut back in August.
It's been more than 2 weeks since the Moti brothers were abducted in Polokwane in Limpopo. The 4 boys were on their way to school when armed men in 2 cars blocked the R37 highway, fired shots, and forced the children out of their car. There are still no reports at this stage of any ransom demands or the whereabouts of these brothers.
Canada is withdrawing all family of Canadian embassy staff as well as non-essential employees from the country. This is due to the deteriorating situation on the ground. The country is in the grips of escalating violence between pro-government forces on one side and Tigray rebels on the other. Canada has, however, confirmed that the embassy in Addis Ababa will remain open. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Ethiopians rallied in the country's capital city in a show of support for their prime minister. Federal troops are fighting Tigray rebel forces who are threatening to march onto the city. Ethiopia's government has pledged to keep on fighting, and the year-long war has already killed thousands of people. More than 2 million have been forced from their homes, and nearly 400,000 people in Tigray region are facing famine.
Sydney Airport has agreed a $17.5 billion takeover bid. Australia's biggest hub will be acquired by a group of investors. The Sydney Aviation Alliance includes Australia's IFM investors and US-based global infrastructure partners. And the deal announced Monday marks one of the country's biggest ever buyouts. It's still conditional on approval from shareholders, regulators and officials, a process that could take months. Australia's competition watchdog is taking a close look, as the investor group also owns stakes in other airports in the country. The regulator is due to release its findings on December 16th. It all comes as Australia this month lifted some international travel restrictions for the first time since the global health crisis began.
New legislation supporting assisted dying has come into force in New Zealand. Voters backed the change in legislation in a referendum more than a year ago. The new law allows terminally ill patients to request doctors to end their lives. It's meant for people who are terminally ill and are likely to die within 6 months or are in an advanced state of irreversible decline.